Hello and welcome back to this channel. We are in the month of July and in the middle of the Plastic Free July, a global movement that is helping millions of people be part of the solution to plastic pollution. While plastics have their utility, it is necessary to remember that most of today's plastics and synthetic polymers are produced from petrochemicals, which are non renewable resources. These also cause significant environmental pollution and harm to life if not disposed of properly. We have talked ad nauseum about how plastic has taken over vast tracts of land and turned them into graveyards. In my last video, which I will link below, I spoke in great detail about the environmental consequences and how to minimize plastic consumption. But there is another aspect of plastic consumption that is affecting humanity. And before we discuss that, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you found any value in it. So, back to the discussion on how plastic consumption is affecting humanity. Have you heard of BPA? So, one of the ingredients for the production of plastic is BPA or bisphenol-A. This is used for making containers which often come in contact with food. BPA is present in hard plastics, including drinking water bottles and many household items. Research has shown that exposure to BPA can disrupt the functioning of the endocrine system. Now, why is that? So, BPA mimics the female hormone estrogen and is said to cause low sperm counts in men. There is much debate about the safety limits of BPA. However, researchers at Exeter University have found that 4 out of 5 British teens have their hormones upset by these gender bending chemicals found in plastics. Researchers also examined the blood and urine of 94 teenagers aged 17 to 19 and found 80% had the hormone disrupting chemicals in their bodies. Another study, a 2002 study by scientists Farabolini et al., showed that prenatal daily exposure to BPA is associated with several behavioral disorders, including altered sexual, social, learning, and maternal behaviors. So, members of the ECA, which is the European Chemical Agency Committee, warned that BPA can disrupt the body's endocrine system, which is a collection of glands that produce hormones. And these endocrine disruptors also cause cardiovascular diseases as well as diabetes. So, how do these chemicals leach into our environment? Hydrolysis of breaks down plastic at a chemical level, and this releases small amounts of BPA molecules into the environment. In one study, researchers found that the process of washing a polycarbonate bottle leached zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.3 milligrams of BPA into each liter of water. Can you imagine that? So do think before you reach out for a plastic, water in a plastic bottle. Phthalates, BPA, and parabens are to blame for a rise in the number of baby boys born with genital defects. Dr. Andrew Pask and Dr. Mark Green from the University of Melbourne said in Australia that the penis birth defects have doubled in recent years due to the use of the plastics. So it is a serious issue indeed, one which is affecting the very basis of humanity. Can we not just replace BPA with another chemical? The secret to what makes BPA such an irreplaceable ingredient in plastics is the same thing that leads to its health risks: the molecule's chemical structure. Now, BPA polymers are rigid because the carbon rings in BPA molecules are themselves rigid. Compare this to polyethylene, the thin, flexible material used to make plastic bags. The long chains of repeating molecules that make up polyethylene are very flexible. So the plastics they produce are highly pliable too. So that's the difference, in between BPA and any other hydrocarbon that is being used. Now, humans are indeed vulnerable to hormone disruptors. Other than BPA, the group of chemicals called phthalates, which are present in packaging plastics, is also of great concern. Recent evidence also indicates that phthalates from plastic and polychlorinated biphenyls, that is PCBs, are one of the many factors which cause gender dysphoria. However, this is becoming a controversial topic as it presents a non binary notion as something that has been incited by chemicals. Yes, there are other reasons too, but many are considering sexuality a voluntary choice. But these environmental threats cannot be ignored. If hormone disruptors affect gender orientation and gender dysphoria, we can be sure that they are a clear and they present danger to reproduction and long-term viability of our species. All of us have stored food in plastic containers at some point in time. About 10 years ago, I sat down in my kitchen and removed every bit of plastic that may possibly cause damage, but somehow they keep creeping back in. And it is a challenge indeed. Just because a plastic food container is phthalate or BPA free, it doesn't mean it's entirely safe. There are companies which say that their plastics or the containers are phthalate and BPA free. So even very hard plastics like the ones with BPA in them break down over time, which means I mean not totally, but they keep releasing these chemicals into the environment, which means they keep releasing trace amounts of these chemicals whenever they come into contact with food. And this is most likely to happen when the plastics have been heated or when it is old and has been subjected to repeated use or washing. Now, just because there is a term which is being bandied as saying microwave safe, it doesn't mean that there is no possibility of chemicals leaching into the food. Now, there is another school of thought that BPA is rapidly absorbed, detoxified, and eliminated from humans. But I would veer towards caution, as these are very preliminary investigations, and these are foreign chemicals which are really playing around with your body, and I would, as I said, veer towards caution. And we do not know the extent of damage that happens due to the plastics we come into contact with. We need to exercise caution, 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 especially with infants and the feeding bottles that are in use. You may want to avoid BPA until more research is complete. Concerned parents should keep these things in mind. Buy baby bottles that are BPA free. These options include glass bottles. And though there are BPA free plastic bottles, I would prefer, to just use glass bottles and perhaps keep the other bottles in case of emergencies like travel. Now, avoid plastic containers with the number 7 at the bottom. These usually contain BPA. Now, is there an alternative to plastic? Man has gotten used to the convenience of plastic and is unlikely to give it up. Hence, it is imperative to look for alternatives, and that would substitute them effectively. The obvious choice for biochemical researchers and engineers have been to look at plant sources which are renewable. Fortunately, research shows that these biopolymer alternatives can be recycled and are not toxic to produce and can be composted if needed. And this is because this material is biodegradable and its molecules can be attacked and broken down by microbes. Traditional plastics, on the other hand, have long polymer molecules that are too large and are too tightly bonded together to be broken apart and assimilated by decomposer organisms. Now, this topic is so vast, and we will leave it for discussion on another day very soon. So in the spirit of Plastic Free July, let us find substitutes and stop using plastics in our day-to-day life for the for our own health, for the health of mankind. And with that, this is Sangeeta Venkatesh signing off. And if you want more basic knowledge of the environment, the issue of waste, I will link the source of where my book, The Waste Issue, can be procured. Thank you and see you soon.